Welcome to the Consummate Athlete Podcast, where we explore what it means to be a well-rounded, happy, goal-crushing athlete. Every week, myself, sports journalist Molly Herford, and cycling coach and kinesiologist Peter Glassford interview experts and chat through all of your training questions. We're excited to have you along for the ride. Hello. Welcome back to the Consummate Athlete Podcast. Peter, how's it going?
It's going very well. Yeah, we've had a great fall here. We're moving along. We're transitioning through seasons, but definitely we're missing our time down in Bentonville when it was very warm and there was lots of our cycling friends all around.
Yes, and that leads us to today's episode. We have my friend, we have Strong Girl publishing author, we have a leading voice at the intersection of body inclusion, cycling, and environmental advocacy. We are talking to the one and only Marley Blonsky today. I am so excited to do this episode and to be putting out her book, The Ragtag Best Friends Bicycle Club. It's been such a joy to work with Marley on this project. It's our first children's book with Strong Girl Publishing, which is very exciting and was a whole adventure for me, but with my good friend Pip Claffey doing the illustrations, this book is beautiful. And we opened pre-orders while we were down in Bentonville at the Little Sugar, Big Sugar races and expo. And the reaction from people that came by and checked out the book and chatted with Marley and I was beyond what I could have expected.
Yeah, you two were hustling. You're two very busy women. I was very impressed. You know, I had obviously followed Marley online, which you should follow her on Instagram as well, if you're on there. And but yeah, just super genuine person and just was like super nice. But then you can tell just like is doing stuff all the time in the same way that you, Molly, are also like always like multiple things going on. This is another case of where DW and I are sort of just like walking around the expo, getting some free samples and barking at people. And yeah, you guys are getting a lot done during it. So anyhow, it was really nice to see you two united and what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say dream team, but kind of. And in this episode, we're talking about Marley's book, which, like I say, is available for pre-order now. We also have a couple of really cool art prints. We have a bunch of like t-shirts and other fun goodies that are available now. So if you can't wait for the book to come out, definitely check that out. We'll include a link to that in the show notes.
And this book is sort of like pre-Shred Girls as far as the age of the reader. Now, of course, there's a big bandwidth on what type of books people can read, but this is more of like a first reader type book. Is that the idea?
Exactly. Very like children's book, although we think it's good for any age. Honestly, you could have this on a coffee table. It's so...
Lots of adults read kids' books. You know, there's good morals and lessons and reminders.
I was going to say, it's sort of like Winnie the Pooh, right? Like there's a bunch of life lessons to be had from it. So I think it's good for anyone. But yes, it is like very much more of a children's picture book. And like I say, the illustrations are fantastic. And we talk about that in this episode. We also talk about why she wanted to write it. And we talk about just her experience as a self-proclaimed fat cyclist. And this is such a cool episode talking about, you know, the people who exist in different bodies that are still finding joy and success on the bike. And she does have a lot of really tangible, like useful tips, especially if you are a bigger bodied cyclist. There's a lot of things that I hadn't really thought about. Like I heard her, one of the questions I asked her, I'd heard her chatting with a cyclist just at the expo at Big Sugar and talking about, oh, you know, did you get the wider pedal platforms or a little bit more, another couple spacers in the pedals so that your knees are actually then a little bit more separated between the crank arms? Because if you have bigger legs, if you have wider thighs, it can be incredibly uncomfortable to have your feet kind of in closer. So that's why you get that knee out situation. And she's so good at talking about that and offering this really helpful advice that makes riding more comfortable and more accessible. So it's a really, really fun conversation. Before we get into it, quick thank you to our sponsors over at Payable. So we've been doing this thing where we talk about a different way to use the Google form.
The payable form of the week.
The payable form of the week, where we use a Google form to take payments using the Payable add-on. And this week, obviously, we have to harken back to the Big Sugar Expo because Strong Girl Publishing uses payable forms in order to take some of our in real life payments. It lets us take credit card payments. Just, you know, someone can scan the QR code, run through the checkout, check out with their credit card, all on their phone while standing in front of me in 30 seconds. And it's super convenient. It avoids me having to carry around or spend money on really expensive checkout equipment when we don't do that many real life events that would warrant that. It's just been so good. And it's so easy to change things up. So if I get a new, if we have a new product we're adding, or if I'm shifting the price on something, putting it on sale, I can just go in and do that in about 2 seconds.
Yeah, just because you're just editing a form. Yeah, so you could, if you were going to give me a discount, or I wanted to buy 1,000 books and you're going to give me like you could add that to the form for even just like a couple minutes, and I could do that. So it's very flexible that way.
Yeah, so you can check out that and all of our other form templates and everything over at payableapps.com/athlete. We'll include a link to that in the show notes. All right, without further ado, enjoy this conversation with Marley Blonsky. Marley, I'm so excited that we finally get to do this. I feel like I've actually wanted to podcast with you like so long ago compared to when we started this project. So welcome to the pod.
Thank you. It's really fun to be in person. So often these podcasts are over Zoom, and it's like conversations are just better in person.
100%, yeah. And
worth the wait.
Exactly. And I'm excited because we get to be in person because we just launched the pre-order for the Ragtag Best Friends Bicycle Club book by you.
By me. It's amazing.
I was going to say, how are you feeling? Like, how did you feel when you first got the book in your hand, when you opened that like package?
It was really surreal. I've had this dream for a long time to write a book, and I didn't necessarily envision writing a children's book. But when I sat down to write the story and it just like flowed out of me, and it's such a personal story. Like when you read it, you'll be like, oh yeah, I get this. That it was really overwhelming. And just, I'm so proud of it. And Pip, my illustrator, Pip Claffey, really brought the story to life. The words are great, but when you see this, the illustrations really take it to the next level and make it so, so, so good.
Yeah, and I think she did such a good job with the illustrations. And we're going to go into like who you are and all that in a minute here, but like we have to wax poetic about the illustrations. Like she did such a good job where I think any age can appreciate this book. Like to me, it's almost like a coffee table book in how just incredibly done it is.
That's my hope, because I don't have kids, but I buy children's books all the time because they make me feel good, because they bring out emotions that I sometimes have a hard time accessing. And that's my hope with this book, and when you page through it, you can just even see, with the colors and the facial expressions, and it's just so delightful.
It really is. It really is. And we kind of need to explain like the backstory of it and, why creating a book like this that really just invites everyone into cycling is so important. So let's start with like your quick 30-second like elevator pitch. Like, who is Marley Blonsky?
Yes. So I am a unconventional athlete. I'm a fat cyclist. I identify as a fat woman. I've lived in a bigger body my whole life. I am the co-founder and executive director of All Bodies on Bikes, which is a nonprofit working to make cycling inclusive to people of all sizes and shapes. I'm also a professional athlete, which is wild to say because I'm really not that good at being an athlete.
Whoa. I would actually argue you're fantastic at being an athlete. You have the temperament to be an athlete in that like I'm gonna list the reasons. Like you love a start line. Like you are so happy at events. You do a lot of racing. Like I would actually say compared to even the most like serious recreational amateurs, you have more race days in a year. You probably have equal race days to like some professional athletes.
It's true. Yeah. Okay. So you're right. I guess what I mean is by like traditional standards of like when you think of a professional cyclist, you think podium finishes, you think, lean and svelte and like very just a traditional cyclist. And I don't look like that. Sometimes I do put on the Lycra and look good to make my sponsors happy. But more often than not, I am riding a cargo bike, inviting others to ride with me. Bikes have really brought me such joy and freedom and a sense of power and community that I hope other people can discover that, and maybe it's not through racing or towing the start line, but moving their bodies in a way that feels good. And especially like as a bigger bodied person, not all movement feels good to me. Running doesn't feel good. High impact exercise doesn't feel good. But I found that riding my bike feels really, really good. And I try not to view it necessarily as exercise because, especially, and I'm getting into all sorts of things, but as a kid, I hated PE class. Well, not really.
Oh, no, you and I have this in common.
Yeah,
I think our PE experience was similar.
Yeah, I mean, I liked PE class when we played games, but when it was like time to run the mile or do the presidential fitness test, like I was like, oh, I can't do any of this stuff. I've never done a pull-up in my entire life. And so, by those arbitrary measures, it felt like I wasn't a real athlete. And I found through cycling that I am.
Did you ever make it through the mile?
I always made it through the mile.
Oh, see,
I'm not a quitter.
This is my claim to fame is I never once did the mile.
How did you get out of it?
Oh my God. I pretended to sprain my ankle. I pretended to pull a muscle. I pretended to throw up. I fainted once.
Wow.
Yeah, like I was homesick many times.
Wow. It's funny. So I grew up in Texas, and down there we never had to run the mile. And then I went to Spokane, and in PE class one day they sprung it on us, and I ran a mile in jeans, and I had never run a mile before. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was the slowest. I think I still got under 10 minutes, which is pretty impressive. I could not do a 10-minute mile now. But after that, I was like, oh, I do not like this. And so I guess it relates to how I am now. I will still do things. It will just take me a lot longer. I will walk when I need to. And I don't like to suffer unnecessarily, which is silly because I'm riding 50 miles tomorrow in potentially a torrential downstorm. So I will probably be suffering, but it's a different kind of suffering. I don't know. I get joy out of being on my bike and suffering.
Okay, see, I actually really like this because this concept of it needs to be a suffer fest to quote unquote count.
It doesn't.
Actually so irritates me. Even just this hard man vibe that cycling can sometimes have. So I'll be honest, I was at Leadville and they were doing the pre-race meeting and they just kept talking about how to get through you have to be hard like the miners in the Leadville mines were. And I'm like, I'm sorry, we're not miners. We paid a lot of money for this. Far too much money, arguably.
And I probably think about this way too much, but I think it's a very patriarchal, colonialist mindset that we have to conquer these races and we have to shred. And it's why can't I just ride and enjoy and appreciate the scenery and appreciate the locals? I'm not conquering anything.
Oh, and the whole hard work puritanical vibe of if you're not going at 110%, if you're not working so hard, then morally bankrupt.
Exactly. Yeah. And people think that because it takes me longer to do something that I'm not working as hard. And it's I'm still giving my 100%. That just looks different than other people. My heart rate is elevated all day, and it's such an interesting language that we use for endurance sports.
You are completely right. And okay, I actually want to get into some of the practicalities only because yesterday when we were at the Big Sugar Expo with the book doing pre-orders and everything, if everyone hasn't yet, go pre-order at stronggirlpublishing.com/ragtag.
Yes.
You will get a signed copy if you order from Strong Girl Publishing. Anyway, you were talking to another All Bodies on Bikes chapter leader, and I want to get into the structure of All Bodies on Bikes because I think what some people may not realize about All Bodies on Bikes is that you actually have a ton of stuff going on with it.
We do.
It's huge. And it's not just you show up and do one event and that's it. It seems like you have these communities just all over the place. But what I really thought was interesting was you were talking to that guy about pedals and cue angles. And I would love if you could just kind of explain maybe a couple things that the bigger cyclists can actually think about when it comes to comfort on the bike.
Yeah. So this person, he's a bigger guy. He's probably 6 foot tall, well over 350 pounds. So he's a big dude. And he had gotten new pedals with a wider cue factor. And so essentially, not to get too nerdy, but it's the distance of your pedals from the center of your bicycle. So you can put extenders on there, you can put washers, you can do all sorts of stuff to kind of widen where your pedals are at. And so for somebody that has a bigger bone structure, it makes their pedaling more efficient and way more comfortable. And I think it's, we think about bike fits, but there's so many things that bigger bodied riders can adjust on their bikes to make themselves more comfortable. One of the things I hear from folks all the time is, oh my gosh, I love bike riding, but it hurts. My shoulders are numb, my hands are numb, my butt hurts. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can raise your stem to give your belly more room if you've got a big belly. You can widen your pedals. You can get a different seat. And we should get into seats at some point. Maybe not on this podcast, but I think, there's a myth out there that if you have a big butt, you need a wide saddle. And that's not necessarily true.
Oh my God, I rant about this.
Yes. I do too, because, people are like, oh, I got a gel cushion or I got a really cushy seat. And I'm like, if that's comfortable for you, great. However, as you start getting more and more miles, which hopefully you're going to, you might not. If you're riding around the block a couple times a week, that wide seat might be absolutely perfect for you, and that's wonderful. But as you potentially get into longer distance, endurance, you want a seat that's built for your sit bones.
Yeah, which has nothing to do
with body size. Yeah. I mean, it potentially could, bigger bone structure. But if you're like, if you carry a lot of fat on your body, you might have a big butt, but your bone structure might be the same as somebody with a lot less fat on their body. And so getting a saddle that is built for your skeletal structure is really important.
Yeah, it's funny. I always give this example. My dad is the 350-pound, like 5'10" rider, and his saddle is smaller than mine because his sit bones are narrower than mine.
Yeah.
And people are so perplexed by that.
Yeah. It's really funny. When I first got into cycling more seriously, people were talking about sit bones and getting your sit bones measured. And I thought that literally meant like going to a bike store and like bending over and having somebody measure my butt. And I was like, I would never in a million years do that. Like, that's embarrassing.
I mean, it's like not that far off because you just sit on like the gel pad and you sit on the assometer.
Exactly. You sit on the assometer, it measures your butt, but nobody's like taking a tape measure to your butt, which is really what I thought was happening. And it's a really non-judgmental thing. It's like you sit on this gel pad and they're like, cool, this seat should work for you. It can just be, it's a really funny thing because the marketing doesn't reflect that.
Yeah. And I have to imagine the experience of bigger bodied cyclists who go into a bike shop is that like a lot of bike shops probably do shove them towards the bigger, wider saddles.
Yeah. And the comfort bikes and the e-bikes and the cruisers. One of the things to get back to All Bodies on Bikes, we're releasing a retailer training program. And I am so excited about this because so many people, big bodied or not, go into a bike shop and don't have a good experience, for one reason or another. And our hope with this retailer training is to equip the people on the ground in bike shops with the language, with the knowledge, with the skill, with the empathy to work with riders of all sizes and shapes. So when somebody walks in the door, they say, hey, welcome in. What kind of riding do you want to do? Oh, I think I want a mountain bike. Cool, let's go look at mountain bikes. We equip them with the language to talk about, hey, this road bike or this bike has a weight limit of 200 pounds. Will that work for you? Instead of saying, oh, you probably weigh too much for that bike. Let's find a different one. Just having those conversations. So we're rolling out this retailer training program to ideally make it better for everybody. So that way shops know about Q factor. Shops know about, how to fit bigger bodies because it is different. And I'm really excited about that.
Oh, that is so cool. I love that.
It's not the best timing.
Well, I mean, honestly, for retail, though, like they should be looking at this because this is a market that they're alienating and missing in a lot of situations.
Yeah. And that was kind of the big push behind All Bodies on Bikes from the beginning is definitely the community rides. So we have 14 chapters across the country that lead inclusive community rides where you're not going to get left behind. You can find community. We're not going to judge you for what you're wearing. We're not going to judge you for what kind of bike you're on. We're going to help make sure it's safe for you. And then we're going to ride together and probably eat ice cream at the end or go to a brewery or coffee or just something to really build that community. I forget where I was going with this.
Well, we were getting kind of like into, what is All Bodies on Bikes?
Oh, yeah. So we've got these 14 chapters. Thank you. And then from kind of, I don't want to say the corporate side, but the headquarters side, because I'm the executive director, I do a lot of consulting. The corporate side. Although we're like the least corporate brand.
She's in a business suit right now, everyone. You can't see, but she is.
A bicycle business suit. We do a lot of consulting. We do a lot of advocacy. We do a lot of education. But we also have a lot of fun. We go bike camping. We lead rides. And we really focus on joy and empowering joyful movement. Because getting back to that whole exercise thing, I think especially folks in bigger bodies, exercise can often be a form of punishment. You go to your doctor and they say, oh, you need to lose weight. You need to exercise more. And it's like, bro, I'm already riding my bike 3 or 4 times a day. I am active. And so there's a lot of feelings wrapped up when we start talking about exercise. And it's like, let's talk about joyful movement, moving our bodies in a way that feels good. And for me, that's bicycles. And I hope for other people it is too. But figure out what it is for you. Dance, swimming, playing with your kids at the park, whatever it is. Like, there's so many ways to move your body, and bodies of all sizes are meant to move.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And you touched on a point that I do want to just like quickly double click on is this like idea of when you are talking to a doctor, so often bigger people just get told lose weight and that's your cure. And I'm putting quotations around cure. Talk to me about how people can like better advocate for themselves at the doctor. Any advice, like even just kind of like personally, like from your experience?
It's so hard. You know, even me, I've gone in for an ear infection and they're like, oh, you should also lose weight. I'm like, how is losing weight going to fix my ear infection? It is not. So, you know, there's a lot of resources online to find a provider that practices health at every size. You know, if your physician or if your doctor is only focused on your weight, that might not be the right doctor for you. And there's a lot of providers out there who take a more holistic approach, who, you know, you ask not to be weighed at every appointment. That's something you perfectly within your right to do. You know, sometimes it is relevant. If you're on a medication that can cause weight loss or weight gain, or they have a reason to be kind of keeping that, sure, have it checked, whatever. But they make little cards that you can print out online that you can give to the medical assistant that just said, I decline to be weighed today. Please put this in my medical chart. You know, you can advocate to your doctor of like, hey, I'm riding my bike, I'm doing all these things, I'm having these challenges, and just having a really honest conversation with your doctor. Because as we're learning, there's so many factors that go into body size, and exercise and diet are a small fraction of it.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking to my run coach for an article a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about 100-mile running. And we were having this conversation about, like, what does it take to run 100 miles, or, like, how, you know, doing all these things for 100 miles. And one thing we kind of ended on is just this idea that, like, the fastest people, the people at the front, the people at the back can be training the exact same way as the people in the front. They are doing the same workouts, the same mileage, the same hours. They're eating the same thing. And they're still finishing 8 hours behind the people in the front. And that's not training. That's not environment. That is genetics.
100%. I think about my efforts at 100 miles. You know, I've done Mid-South a couple times. I've done Unbound. And part of it's also, how do I want to say this? Goal, outcome. You know, when I go out for 100 miles, I'm not going race pace. I am going at a pace that I can maintain for 12, 14, 16 hours because I know that that's what it's going to take me. You know, I'm having fun, I'm enjoying it, but I'm also like pacing myself that I can go for that long. And it's funny, I've talked to some of my friends who are in the pointy end of the race, and, you know, after I finish Unbound and it takes me 14 hours or whatever it is, they're like, Marley, you work actually way harder than we do. And I'm like, I know. Like, all of us in the back know that, you know, like, to get my 200 and whatever pounds up the hill takes a lot more watts and a lot more effort than your body weight that is half as much as mine. I've always wanted to do some sort of I don't know if race is the right word, but some sort of event where, you know, folks in smaller bodies can put on weight vests or add weight to their bicycle just to experience what it's like to be 200 pounds.
Honestly, I think you should do that. I would freaking love that. I think that would be so interesting because I think it would give people that, would just kind of like swagger up to that and be like, yeah,
I can do it.
I can do it. No problem. Like, that's not hard. Like, yeah, I would please do that. Please. Okay. It reminds me of, do you remember that movie 10 Things I Hate About You?
Do I? I love that movie.
Who doesn't? We just rewatched it.
The soundtrack?
Amazing. I'm instantly downloaded it. I've been listening to it actually like nonstop lately. It's so good.
Letters to Cleo is one of my favorite bands. Anyway,
the scene in it where the dad makes the daughter like put on the pregnancy suit and walk around before she can go to the party.
I forgot about that scene. But yeah, exactly. Because it's just a different experience.
Yeah.
And it's neither good nor bad. But
I'd actually like to also see like some kind of like power to weight like equalizer thing where you're actually like it's all equalized, because I think some of the bigger bodied athletes would actually like destroy.
Have you seen my quads?
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
I mean, they're hidden under some layers, but they're strong. Like,
yeah.
And some of these, sometimes you'll get out on the course and you see these bigger bodied people and they just fly past you on the downhill, and that's our reward because we worked really hard to get up that hill, and now I'm going to fly down it and they're going to catch me on the next uphill, and we're it's going to be great.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
But yeah, I wanted to do this event, especially just to give smaller bodied folks who maybe are disparaging a little bit or, you know, kind of scoff at why it takes me so long to do things. Just a little taste, a little perspective.
I think that's a great idea. I think that's great. I think there could be like a really fun, like fundraising component to that.
This All Bodies on Bikes is a nonprofit.
Exactly. This feels like a thing. We have too many ideas. This is terrible. Okay, let's talk about the book. So at Sea Otter last year, we were chatting and I was just like bullying you into writing a book. That's really the only way that I can describe it. It's just, I was like, so Marley, when are you going to write a book? When can we talk about this?
And I was like, now.
Yeah. And luckily.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I have for a long time had all these ideas in my head about a book. Like, I want to write a memoir. I've lived a kind of wild life.
I want to read that memoir.
It would definitely not be a children's memoir. Little not safe for work. You know, I've been on the dating apps for 10 years. I want to write like a decade on the apps of like dating advice. But clearly you don't publish those kinds of things. I don't have the bandwidth currently to write that kind of book. And I was like, Molly, how would you feel about a children's book? And you lit up.
I feel very good about a children's book.
Yeah, because I've had this story. I've wanted to tell this story for a long time. You know, I grew up with a big sister who I wanted to be like. She was 2 years older than me. She was so cool. Her friends were cool. And I would always try and keep up with them. I wanted to be with them so bad. And I think it's a really relatable experience. And that's kind of the story at the heart of this story, of the heart of the book, is it's two sisters, Maisie and Zoe. Maisie's the little sister. Zoe's the big sister. Maisie really wants to ride bikes with big sister. And big sister says, nope, you're too slow. And so, you know, Maisie, of course her feelings are hurt, but she decides to ride anyway and ends up kind of collecting this group of friends, the Ragtag Best Friends Bike Club, and they go on adventures and they eat ice cream, and that's the story. And it's just, I shared it with my sister when I was in the writing phase, and she was like, was I really that mean? Because Zoe's a little bit mean in the book. And I was like, yeah, you were. And my sister was like, I'm really sorry about that. So I'm excited for her to read this because it's also like a story of redemption. I thank my sister in the acknowledgments, which she doesn't know about yet. She hasn't seen it. So for me, it was also a healing thing to write this book and to hopefully, I'm going to cry. Wow. Just to get this story out to other folks who have felt inadequate or like they're not good enough. And you are good enough. It might look different. But wow,
well, that's why you have the dedication in there.
Exactly.
That is.
Yeah. So yeah, the dedication is to all the Maisies of the world. You're perfect just the way you are.
And actual tears, by the way, if you're listening to this.
This does not happen very often. I was talking about, you know, children's book allow me to access emotions, and that's exactly what's happening right now. I'm kind of a black hole of emotion sometimes, a little dead inside, but clearly not all the time.
Oh my gosh! Well, I'm glad I videoed that part.
I guess I am too.
It's very sweet.
Yeah.
No, and well, it's funny because as we were talking about the book, and you were like a little nervous about, you know, if you wanted to do this because you didn't want to hurt your sister's feelings.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was like, so as the older sister who was in fact the Zoe of my sister and my story, I can safely say that we deserve it. And honestly, I was so glad that you told it because I think there's a lot of little siblings, and now I'm gonna choke up. I can picture the little Marley and her sister and Big Molly and her little sister reading this, and it changing their perspective on how they get to play together and how they get to ride together. So I think maybe in 10 years we're gonna hear that we could have had a Maisie Zoe situation, and actually they ended up riding together and doing all this stuff.
Yeah, and the cool thing is we're not asking Zoe to change. We're not asking Maisie to change in the book. You know, Zoe can still go on her big adventures and go fast, but they realize, through the story that they can ride together. And there's a scene in the book where they're riding together at some point, and Zoe wants to take Maisie up a big hill, and Maisie is like, this hill is too big. I can't do it. And Zoe is like, it's okay, you can walk. And I think it's just a really good example of like things don't have to look a certain way. And I imagine, there might be a future story where Zoe and Maisie do a race together, and Maisie learns how to train and learns what a different kind of bike riding looks like. I don't know. We'll see how the public receives this one and how things go. But there's definitely more to the story here.
Oh, definitely. I'm so excited. And like I see this as it's almost like precursor to the Shred Girls. Like
Exactly.
They're not the Shred Girls, but like you can see them like growing into them.
Yeah.
I actually have kind of been like sort of nodding to the different books within the Shred Girls. So I feel like at some point like the Shred Girls might meet Zoe in like an upcoming.
That would be so cute. So cute. Yes.
I could see it because I think Zoe and Jen would get along just great since
Aw.
Jen's like the uber competitive, like fast one.
Yeah.
You can tell her name's Jen, so she's going to be like a little mean.
We've all known that competitive fashion.
Look, we're from the like early aughts. There was always like the mean girl named Jen. There was literally a band called Mean Girls Named Jen.
That's incredible.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, very excited about the book. Very excited about the pre-order. Side note, the scene you were just talking about, we do have a limited edition print of that Keep Going that people can get on stronggirlpublishing.com/ragtag.
It's so cute.
It's so cute.
I'm going to frame it and put it up in my house. Like it would be great for a kid's room. It'd be great for a bathroom. It'd be great for a classroom. Office. And it's like, yes, it's bike related, but Keep Going is such a universal, like, keep going, whatever you're doing.
Exactly. And yeah, Pip really captured that in that illustration. And I'm so excited. And so the book is coming out. It's available for pre-order now. It's out at Sea Otter. So we are going to have, it's like a very full circle that will launch the book at Sea Otter. Yeah. We're going to have so much stuff going on that week. It's going to be so much fun. I'm so excited. People need to...
overwhelmed already thinking about it. Shredley, who is my apparel sponsor, we've had the Manatee Cycling Club the last couple of years, celebrating. I love manatees. I got compared to a manatee on I guess one thing I didn't mention is I'm like weirdly popular on Instagram on like cycling internet. I'm kind of famous.
Kind of a big deal.
But I'm not like one of those influencers. I don't know. You have to look at my content to see. But anyway, I had a video go fairly viral and somebody said, "You have the fitness of a manatee." And I'm like, I've got a pretty hard exterior, but that one like hurt me. So I was in the group chat talking to some friends and they were like, "Marley, manatees are really cool. Like they're excellent at preserving energy. And when they need to escape predators, they can like zoom up to 20 miles an hour."
I was going to say, actually, has anyone checked on the fitness of a manatee? Because I feel like they're actually probably pretty fit.
Exactly. Yeah, they're just efficient at saving their energy. So anyway, my friend group kind of helped me
reclaim the
manatee. Yeah. And so now for the past 2 years, I've had a clothing line with Shredley celebrating the manatee. And next year we are celebrating the same ethos, but it'll have some fun like ice cream illustrations from the book and be more of a gravel collection. And that's launching at Sea Otter. I will hopefully have a new bike sponsor that we can do some fun things. Hint, hint, if there's any bike companies out there who want me to ride for you. Just throwing it out there. But yeah, Sea Otter is going to be wild.
Yeah. And so much more going on. And okay, actually, before we go, talk about the All Bodies on Bikes movie too, because that's also in the works. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how you and I keep all of our things straight, but we manage. We do.
And I will occasionally drop a ball, but not very often. And I feel really bad when I do. This all started back in 2020. Shimano heard about the size inclusion work that I was doing. I didn't even talk about that, but I was working on size inclusion in cycling way before All Bodies on Bikes was a thing. Shimano heard about it. They made a really cute film. It's like 10 minutes long, and it's available on YouTube called All Bodies on Bikes. And I've since become very close with Shimano. I'm one of their athletes. And my manager was like, "Hey, we want to do an updated story of All Bodies on Bikes of where you've come in the last 5 years." So we spent about the last 6 months filming it. We went to New York. We did a bike packing trip. We've just done a bunch of stuff. And it really highlights where the organization has come. Because when the original film came out, there was no organization. So that'll come out. We don't have a release date yet, but we will likely be doing like film tours and book tours and talks. So the idea is, we'll come to your city, we'll do a All Bodies on Bikes ride, and then we will do film screenings and maybe a book reading, and it'll be a fundraiser for All Bodies on Bikes.
Perfect. Okay, where can everyone find you, follow you, and All Bodies on Bites?
So Marley, Blonsky, all over the place. If you just put it into a search engine, all my socials will come up. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on Threads. I'm not on X because we don't do that. And I also have a Facebook presence, although I have a really hard time maintaining that.
Facebook is impossible.
It really is. Like the Meta Business Suite.
No idea.
But you also can't escape it because that's like
where everything is.
Yeah, it's kind of like the hub in the Meta.
Yeah,
world.
no, it's horrific. I go on like once a week to make sure that like nothing has blown up, and that's really all I do.
Same, but I have an audience there. Like there's a segment of my audience that really connects with me on Facebook, and I feel bad because they send me messages and they disappear into the ether.
You're like, I have no idea where this is.
Yeah, people comment on things, and I'm like, I don't know where. Oh, okay. So the best place to follow me is Instagram. I have the most fun with that. It's real content. I use my stories as kind of a diary, so you're going to get behind the scenes stuff. And then I also do just other influencing on there for other brands.
Love it. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited we get to take this journey together. Thank you so much, Marley.
Thank you, Molly, and thanks for believing in this story.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Consummate Athlete podcast. If you want to hear more training, racing, and endurance sport advice, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and leave us a rating and review. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at consummateathlete.com for a weekly dose of inspiration and advice straight to your inbox.